Welcome to the Becker County Historical Society Museum Roadshow. Today we have with us Gerry Schram, who is the County Commissioner from District 3, right? You represent all of District 3.
Yes, I do. Frazee up to White Earth Lake.
It's a big district, a lot of people. And you've lived in Becker County all your life, have you?
Yes, all 40 years of my life I've been here.
40 years of your life, good. And he has observed the coming and goings on of what we call the Main Street, but it's really Washington Avenue. And I have some questions to ask you about that, because someone just remarked to me the other day, the street or the avenue is so wide, and it reminded me of places where they had wide avenues so they could turn cars around. Would you bring all of us up to date on why it's so wide?
Well, Carolyn, it happens that Highway 10 used to run right along through Washington Avenue. Highway 59 used Washington, and 34 as well. So it wasn't just a street, it was the highway. And of course it had to be wide enough to encompass that. We've just gone through the Detroit Lakes reroute this year, and we should know that it's been rerouted before. Washington Avenue used to be Highway 10, like I said, but it was approached by Frazee Street, which was Highway 10 coming from Frazee, and they would come in and turn right north on Washington. But back in about 58, in the late 50s, the curve was put in across from Holiday gas station and went around part of the city, at least a part of, around the business district. Well, that was good, but you still had 59 and 34 coming in. Well, in the late 60s, maybe 66, the bridge was put over the tracks, and Highway 34 and 59 was rerouted out by Perkins. So that did away with a lot of traffic into Detroit Lakes. And Carolyn, there used to be 7 gas stations on north side of Detroit Lakes. You had
on
Shell.
The north side? Yes. North of the tracks?
Yes.
7.
On the far north corner, you had a Pure, a Standard, a Texaco, and Skelly Station. And further down, you had City Service. Then you had Mobile Station, and lastly, you had it was independent. Later, it became a Shell station. South of that, you had 4 more stations, 2 at the intersection of Frazee and Washington. That was a Standard and a Mobile station. Further on down, you had the M&H and Phillips 66 station. So because it was a major highway, it was important to have fuel stations along there. And your gas stations weren't anything like they are today. You didn't have rows of potato chips and rows of candy. They were service stations, and these service stations would have a wash bay. They would hand wash your car, not spray it with and run harsh brushes on your car. They would hand wash these cars in one stall. They'd have grease and lube, and it was very important to grease your car, because you know, you and I can remember when roads weren't like they are today.
That's right.
And there wasn't near as much tar as there is now. Well, these stations changed your oil, and your cars needed oil changes more often then than they do now, because you had a carburetor, and the carburetor would let some gasoline slip down into your crankcase. Then the stations would also do some light mechanic work. They might change brake shoes, spark plugs, points are something, of course, that has gone by the wayside, but this is how they survived. And you never had to put gas in your car. There was somebody out there.
I remember those days. I liked them.
Yes, that was good. That was, I think the last time I ever had that done was Roger Sanders coming out and putting gas in my car at Frazee. I like that. I like that. You're not getting the gas on your hands.
And they washed your windows?
Yes. And,
check the oil?
Check the oil.
Oh.
And it was a different era, and it called for 4 different things. Right on the corner of Frazee and Washington was Fingelson's Super Service. It was a mobile station. For the time, it was a very modernistic looking station. It had the 3 stalls I talked about, and a couple different rows of gas pumps. And along Washington Avenue, as you had travelers coming through, there were lots of restaurants. There was probably at least a dozen restaurants right along Washington Avenue, Highway 10, whatever you want to call it. Well, the only one really remaining is Main Street, which used to be called the Gopher Grill. Bill Henderson had a chili kitchen. It was really a coffee shop for workers and employees, and along the road. And there was all kinds of them. There was Gordy's, Mickey's on the north side. There was Luxury Cafe. There was
don't forget Bunnell's.
Bunnell's, and that's really a long story.
That's a whole story.
That's a story in itself, because that was way more than a restaurant. There was pool table there. There was also bowling, and at one time that was known for some very heavy-duty card games in this town in the evening.
You know, we're going to hear more about this next time. And so stay tuned, folks, for part 2 of the insides of Washington Avenue.